Good morning, everyone. It is the 19th of June, 2022, Father's Day, Sunday, and this is Fellowship of Spirit Zoom meeting coming to you from Farmington, New Mexico. And we just hope that you have a wonderful experience and have a great day. We have Ian, who is going to be here to give us our Father's Day message. We have Margaret and Steve, and are you going to sing with them, Shay? You're not, okay. Just Margaret and Steve are going to be doing our music. Jenny, you have our spiritual reading, correct? So she's on board. Looks like everybody's lined up and ready to play. So are there any announcements we need to make at the beginning that we can't make at the end, Jerry? Okay. So if you would just kind of center yourself and listen to our prelude, Margaret is going to play. And the title of the song is Great is the Lord, composed by Michael and Deborah Smith. It is an instrumentation and it will be played by Margaret Cheesebro. All right. Well, thank you, Margaret. That was wonderful. You know that there seemed to be a special energy today. I don't know if it was because our TV was making better sound or what, but it was very energetic and we like it. We liked it. The weather here in San Juan County is a little different than what we have experienced in a while. We're having rain. It's just overcast and drizzling a little bit, and but we've been a drought, and I don't know how long it's been since we had moisture, but it is really feeling like a blessing to us today to get this rain and cool, and it is very nice here. This would be usual in Seattle or Oregon. They say it's just another day, but for us, it's a special day. So we thank you. Would anyone like to give our opening prayer? Okay, come on, Marion. That would be wonderful.
Do I need to go up here?
Yes, if you would, please, so that we can hear you and see you.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for the healing rain that is nourishing Mother Earth, and for this church where your love and your light dance and play and breathe within these walls, and we ask that their blessings be shared with all who enter these doors, past, present, and future. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Amen.
So it is. Thank you very much, Marion. So what's the next one is, it's a special day?
No, when you rule your mind.
Oh, when you rule your mind, okay. I had it all queued up there. There we go. Hit it, Margaret.
Okay. This is a new one, so I'm gonna play the whole thing through for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Doing another one now.
Okay, let's do our moment of reflection. Repeat after me. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I love others more than ever, and I feel privileged to be here. Love flows from one person to another as we create an atmosphere of holiness, and so it is. I want to show everyone, so this is upside down. These are my mama dog and 10 little puppies. They were born last Wednesday evening, beginning about 6 o'clock and finishing up about 1 o'clock in the morning to have all of them. She had 1 hour there for a while, but she is a wonderful mother, and I was just amazed at how nature kicks in, and she did a wonderful job. She never took any classes, she never read any books, she never watched any YouTubes. She didn't even have her mother to tell her what to do, but she knew what to do. And nature kicked in, and she became a wonderful mother and she is just doing a really good job of taking care of her babies. And so it's really good. It's good to be a part of it. Yes, Steve?
I bet you she's got 10 nipples.
She does. But that's too many dogs. They can't all get on at the same time. But she has them separated into crews, and she has some that do it sometimes, and then she kicks all them off and gets the other ones on there. I don't know. It's her thinking, and I don't mess with the process. I'll mess it up for sure. She's doing really well. Anyway, I'm just glad that she's here and everything came fine. And so far, every single one has made it and thrived, and that's a good thing. So, okay, so now we have our spiritual reading by Jenny.
Well, it's an incredibly busy day. It's June 19th, which is Juneteenth. Well, and I'm not even going to touch that one because there's a lot of information about it, but I would have to read it to you. And then it's solstice this week, and we have our gathering tomorrow, right, at 4 at the park. So I'll start with the solstice reading, and then I also have a comment, I guess, on fathers and my father in particular. So, summer solstice. The sun drum is high and taut as the wheel lifts to the peak of ascension. Gaia stretches out luxuriously. Flowers pour from her. Colors, light, heat. Time to rest, play, blossom. Flowers in our hair and in our hearts, wide open to celebrate beauty, grace of earth. We gather together, travel, and dance. Campfires opening like stars on the land as long, lovely blue velvet nights wrap us in ease. And yet we have Gaia's work to do. Earth, air, fire, and water spin out of their true integration. Let each circle be a powerhouse, each drum, each throat open in prayer for Gaia and her continuance to be at the heart of all we do. Our world will only come into balance if we make our own radical shifts, bringing feminine wisdom into the center. And that is by Rose Flint from Wimoon Calendar. The rest of it's from me, mostly. Okay, I have to read this off my computer, so I'm going to turn my head a little bit. On Father and Father's Day, the first one I found was on Facebook, and it was from a guy named Craig Childs, and I'll read that first. Happy Father's Day to all the imperfect dads who at times were neither careful nor wise, who grew crooked like odd trees, who, although they tried, could never get everything straight. Fathers who tried to pass on their best traits and mistakenly let through some of their worst, the parts of themselves they swore that they would keep hidden, locked in a chest at the bottom of the sea, or rinsed clean by therapy. Fathers whose kids would someday say, it's complicated. In other words, happy Father's Day to every dad out there, even the best ones. So after a certain age, my father and I had a fraught relationship, but I understand better now why that might have been. Let me tell you a little bit about my dad before I came and made him a father. He was only 12 when his mother died. And so his grandmother moved in. She actually lived just up the street in Brooklyn. And she was going to, take over and run the household. So he really was raised by one generation back, and he had some pretty old-fashioned ideas. So anyway, I can't imagine how much backbone it required from her in grieving her own daughter and then starting a new household for her anyway, with 4 kids and her son-in-law, and my dad was the only boy. So I did know her as a child, and I thought she was mean. And I've been reading some of my relatives' letters lately, and the eldest daughter, well, my eldest aunt, my dad's older sister, wrote a letter and said she was really harsh. She just didn't allow them much space to be. So now I will call it harsh based on those letters from my eldest aunt. I believe that much of my dad's ideas came from his grandmother. Work first and do your best, and recreation later, and sometimes so much later that it didn't happen at all. So he was a perfectionist with the tasks around the house, and probably the only thing that he was ever complimented for. And he was slow at it, but it was perfect when he was done. So he joined the army during World War II, but he had an eye anomaly that kept him out of the fighting, which, thank goodness, as far as I'm concerned. So he was a vehicle mechanic, and that was the skill that he worked at the rest of his life. I believe the harshness of my great-grandmother and the realities of war eroded this basic core of sensitivity and innate joy that he had. He tried so hard. When he got out of the army, he and some buddies bought an old car, drove across the West. He loved to drive. He loved to camp. He really shone when he was on vacation. He was very happy when he married my mom, and he said so, but he was never able to say, I love you. And so that, to any of us, not even my mom, and that hurt. And I'm sure he didn't hear it much as a child either, at least not after his mom died. So he brought cursing back. This is funny. He brought cursing back from the army, but mom would not let him speak it out loud. So he made this funny sound like this. So you knew how angry he was depending on how fast happened. And it was like a Geiger counter, the faster it went, the madder he was. So that anger, also came from the World War II, I'm sure, and there really wasn't counseling available, and I'm sure he wouldn't do it either. But for some reason, it was me who triggered his anger. And maybe because I was never impressed with authoritarianism, and he was kind of authoritarian. So he spanked me, and only me. But his good traits always shone out to the members of his church, to neighbors and guests, to people in need. He would never pass up anybody who was broken down on the side of the road. And he was generous, kind, congenial. He was a great host and loving in his actions for the most part. My sister's take on it was, she has always said he did his best. And yes, I truly believe that. So God bless you now, Daddy, and happy Father's Day.
Sound like he was a good man, Jenny, and you were.
He basically was.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing that to us. Let's give Jenny a hand for her reading. We thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Okay, it is now time for another song. Let me get it queued up.
It's a special day about Father's Day.
Okay, so this is it's a special day because Margaret couldn't find one that was directly aimed at fathers. This is a special day for Father's Day. And it's a very joyous song, so here we go.
Well, wait a minute.
You're waiting.
What happened to it? Oh, I don't. It's a special day.
Yes.
It's a special day. There we go. We're all ready.
Something is occurring, something new is stirring, something of the Spirit blesses me today. Energies are swarming, totally transforming, something of the Spirit blesses me today. It's a special day, it's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. It's a special day. It's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. Knowledge is provided. I am being guided. Something of the Spirit blesses me with light. I have perfect leading to the good I'm needing. Something of the Spirit blesses me with light. It's a special day. It's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. It's a special day. It's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. I accept my blessing. Who I'm expressing something of the Spirit, gloriously good. Every trouble ceases, all my joy increases. Something of the Spirit blesses me with good. It's a special day. It's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. It's a special day. It's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, Steve. We appreciate it. We have Ian Gloriff with us today as our main speaker, coming to us from Belize, and we're very happy to have him. He has spoken here very many times, and he always brings interesting and good information to us. And so I'm sure today is going to be no exception to that rule that he has established. So let us welcome Ian Glory.
Very good morning to one and all. Congratulations to all fathers. Thank you again for another opportunity to sharing some of my thoughts with me. Before I begin, I need to say that as well as the other young lady that spoke today of her father, I was also inspired by my father, who, well, at least the father that grew me up, because I was an adopted child. I was grown up by an uncle who I knew as my father. So later on in life, I got to know my biological father, but again, that is debatable, and if he could be called a father. So with no further ado, I would present my piece of work, and after I present my work, I have asked Susan to assist me in reading a letter that I had written to my children when I thought that I was gonna die at a younger age. So again, I present to you the work of today, entitled Father. A father is, in a biological context, that living male being that has had direct descendants, being the reciprocal term of son. The Hebrew term av and the Greek pater are used in several ways as a parent, as a head of an ancestral house or family, ancestor, originator of a nation, founder of a class or profession, protector, originator of something, and as an expression of simple respect. Especially East Indians, they would also call their elders by, just for respect, father. In the case of mammals, such as us humans, the father conceives his offspring after intercourse with a future mother. But in asexual organisms, father can also mean mother. In the case of single-celled organisms that reproduce by division, the father is a cell that divides to produce daughter cells. Commonly, the father plays a very important role in the development of children. The title of father can also be given to a man who fulfills this role without being biologically related to the offspring. Mostly, this occurs with men who marry women that have previously birthed offspring with another partner. The term can also refer to a person who is identified with the father stereotype. The determination of the characteristics attributed to parenthood have been social and cultural impositions that have changed over time. Hence, father, who is, from our societal standards, the male person who is in charge of providing and disciplining the offsprings, he who leads by example. I'm sure when we were growing up, all of us have experienced the occasion when we did something out of the way and our mother found out and told us or shouted to us, "You will see what will happen when your father comes home and I tell him what you did." I'm sure most of us have an experience similar to that. So father, after working hours of hard labor, earning the money to support his family, comes home tired, wanting to relax, to kiss his wife and play with his kids. Yet upon entering the door of this palace, which he calls home, awaiting a nice greeting and refreshment is met with, "Do you know what your child did?" And he needs to change his demeanor and become the enforcer of law in his kingdom, judge and executioner. Based on the story told by his queen, and the order is then given, off with his head. And instead of the hugs and kisses that he was expecting, he is now punishing you. Bad man, the worst of all men. For this reason, and because there is no set teaching which guides us in the proper way of being a father, I share with you the following excerpt, which gives us a guideline into this role. It reads, "If the grand architect of the universe gives you a son, thank him, but tremble, for the deposit he has entrusted to you is in the future. You will be for that child the image of deity. Make sure he fears you until the age of 10, loves you until the age of 20, and respects you until your death. Until 10, be his teacher. Until 20, be his father. And until death, be his friend. Teach your children sound principles before fine manners. See that they owe you a clarified doctrine before a frivolous elegance, and that they prefer to be honorable men rather than able men. All this is in the basis of the 3 R's that we all know: responsible, reliable, and respectful. Father's Day is celebrated annually in many parts of the world. In Catholic countries, Father's Day is celebrated on March 19th, the feast of Saint Joseph, the putative father of Jesus of Nazareth. The idea of celebrating Father's Day, though, came in the United States in 1909 when a woman named Sonora Smart Dodd from Washington came up with the idea to celebrate it. This woman wanted to pay tribute to her father, who was a Civil War veteran named Henry Jackson Smart. Henry, who was widowed when his wife died during birth on their sixth child, and from there took over raising their children by serving role of father and also trying to fulfill that of a mother. And since Mr. Smart had been born in June 5th, Ms. Dodd proposed his birthday as Father's Day. The idea of instituting a Father's Day was enthusiastically embraced by many people in various countries and cities. And it was in 1924 that President Calvin Coolidge supported the idea of establishing a national Father's Day. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson signed a proclamation declaring the third Sunday in June as Father's Day in the United States. This is now Father's Day. This is how Father's Day is celebrated according to the day given by the country. Mexico, like other Latin American countries, also adopted the third Sunday in June as the official day of the father. Like Mother's Day, many families usually got together and having a celebration together on behalf of the parent, grandparent, or step-parent. Families are organized to prepare special dishes and gifts that are given to the parents, or simply spend time in company of their entire family, honoring that parent. What was father to me while I was growing up? My father was that person who was there to applaud my latest achievement as I became older. He was the figure that taught me the difference between what in society is recognized as good and bad. During my adolescence, he was the authority that put limits to my desires. And in my adulthood, he became my best counselor and friend for my entire life. Many of us do not truly know the love of a parent or simply don't care. Sometimes our parent just forgets to say, I love you, until we start having children of our own. And then upon deep analysis, in a flash, we realize it is not the flesh or the blood, but it is in the heart that we are made parents. Love overwhelms and overpowers us. We start to understand that a good father is a man who has photos of children in his wallet where he used to have dollar bills. A father is not a person who begets, but a person who dedicates his entire life to the care and good education of his children, the one who thinks and works for the well-being of his family and society. He's an example, a hero, the founder and the force behind our future. Father is a simple name for a great person. Let's not fall into error of not giving them the required recognition. Do not wait until they are no longer with us to realize we did not thank them enough. Take the time to let them know how you feel, how much you love them and appreciate them, their sacrifice. Celebrate them in life if you have that opportunity, and then still honor their lives and teachings even when they're gone. This is the short presentation that I wanted to explain of the fathers. And I thought that we could go on and on and on about it, but this to me covers the gist. And inspired by the education and knowledge that was passed on by my father, as I said before, I had written a letter because of the work I did. I don't know if much of you know that I worked for the International Federation of the Red Cross. And whenever everyone else was running away from the storms, they were always flying us in. We had to be there and be prepared to respond immediately after a disaster. And sometimes that did not give us time to go in after a disaster. So we were placed in there before. And my life was challenging, and I never knew if I was going to return home. So I wrote a short letter to my children, just in case that they arrived. And I will ask Susan to read it for me, because it always creates a knot on my throat. So with no further ado, I'm asking Susan to read this document for me.
Okay. So this is what he wrote. My children, one day when you are old enough to understand the logic that motivates parents, I will tell you, even though I am not present, and though I do not expect you to understand if you have not reached the age of parenthood, that from when you were young, I loved you enough to ask, where are you going? With whom are you going? And at what time will you return? I loved you enough not to be quiet and let you know that the new friend was not good company. I loved you enough to make you pay for the candies you had removed, had stolen from the store, and made you tell the owner, we stole this yesterday, but now we want to pay for it. I loved you enough to stand by you for an hour while you were cleaning your room, a task I would have done in 15 minutes. I loved you enough to let you see, besides the love I felt for you, the disappointment and also the tears in my eyes. I loved you enough to let you take responsibility for your actions, even when the consequences were so harsh that they broke my heart. More than anything, I loved you enough to tell you no. Okay, I just lost it. When I had the full notion that you might hate me for it. Those were the most difficult battles of all. I am happy I won, because in the end, you also won. And someday, when my grandchildren have grown up enough, you will understand the logic that motivates parents. My daughters, you will tell them when they ask if your parents were bad, you will say, yes, our parents were bad. They were the meanest and worst parents in the world. Other children ate candy at breakfast, but we had to eat bread and cheese and milk. The other children had soft drinks, fries, and ice cream at lunch, but we had to eat rice and meat and vegetables and fruits. They almost forced us to eat these things. Sometimes our parents would force us to dine at the table, which was very different from the other parents who would let their children eat while watching TV all the time. They insisted on knowing where we were at all times. It was almost a prison. Our parents had to know who our friends were and what we did with them. They insisted that we tell them when we were going to leave, even if it only took an hour or less. We are ashamed to admit it, but they violated child labor laws. We had to wash the dishes, fix the beds, wash the clothes. We had to learn to cook, to sweep the floor, throw away the garbage, and all kinds of cruel jobs. We think that at night, our parents didn't even sleep so that they could figure out cruel things that they would then send us to do. And our father always insisted that we tell him the truth and only the truth. And in our teens, it seemed like our Father could read what we thought. Our life was really boring and miserable. Our parents wouldn't let our friends just honk when they called us out. They had to come up and knock on the door, to come into the house for our Father to meet them. Well, everyone could go out at night at the age of 12 or 13. We had to wait until we were 16. Our friends drove their parents' car, even without a driver's license. But we had to wait until the age of 18 to learn as required by law. Our parents made us lose many experiences of adolescence. None of us were involved in theft, acts of vandalism, violation of property, nor were we taken into custody for any crime.
Yeah.
All of this happened because of our Father. And now that we have left home, we are the adults. We are the parents, honest and educated. And we are doing our best to be as our parents were, bad parents. And so then, my dearest daughters, you now understand that this is one of the evils of today's world. There are just not enough bad parents like yours were. And even though I am not here in body, I still love you, and I always will. Your Father.
Again, thank you, and may each one of you have a happy Father's Day, and blessings to your fathers as well.
Thank you, Ian. We really appreciate that. It was really a good presentation. I'm going to open it up to everyone. Steve has something we're going to share on a share screen, but does anyone want to unmute and share at this time? Anyone here in the sanctuary, you want to come up and share anything?
Okay, Ron, I'd like to say something about my dad, who was a really wonderful man, who taught me how to be kind and work for others, to be of service. But he had an accident and he became ill for the last part of his life. And then I guess when he was 70, he actually died on the table. They resuscitated him, and he spent the last 3 years of his life basically in a home and not being much more than a vegetable. However, what I wanted to really share with you was what happened after he passed. So when he passed, I had this vision of him. And he was confused because he was still wearing the robe that he was in that nursing home. But he didn't know what had happened to him. And then that was right after he passed in April. And then in August, he came again. And he was up in the mountains this time. And he says, I'm preparing for winter. He was cutting wood. And he looked like he had when he was, about 45. And it was just really wonderful to see him again. And it was wonderful that he came to me. And then in October, it was at church when we were still in Aztec. And we were having our prayer circle that we always had before church started. And I could feel him. I felt him behind me. And he said, Susan, it's time for me to go now. And so he just said he was going to the light. And so that's the last that I really felt him. Although sometimes when I'm doing work, I can kind of feel like he's almost there trying to help me. And so I appreciate So that I just wanted to share my father's journey after he passed.
That's beautiful, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
That was great, Sue.
And Ian, I think that your letter should be given to young couples when they're expecting, and then, and then they'll have that to work on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really good. We were trying to figure out, and I'm gonna turn on here, I don't know, maybe content from second camera. I don't see anything.
Well, there's a green folder up there that says.
Definitely seeing you.
Yes, new share. Trying to get a picture from Steve's phone to our computer here so that we can show you the picture that he would like to share with us, and I would like to do that also. I don't know that it's going to be easy to do.
Yeah, that's okay.
So maybe we can plan on trying to figure out how to do that later, Steve, and
Yeah, that's
can
fine.
share it at another time. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Ian. Let's give Ian a hearty welcome. Thank you. And Margaret. Life is.
And also, as one proud dad, I want to greet my daughter Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Dad. Love you.
You too.
Now, in the bulletin, it says life is worth living. In the file, it said life is for living, which is that?
Life is for living.
Is that the one that we're doing?
Mhm.
Is that it? Okay. All right, we're ready to go.
Life is for living. Whatever you will live for, you will give. Life is for giving. Whatever you will give to life will live. Life is for doing, for living, giving, doing, learning how. Life is for you, and life is for me. Life is for living now. Life is for loving. Whatever you will love, enough is yours. Life is for sharing. Whatever you will share with others grows. Life is for being, for loving, sharing, being, learning how. Life is for you, and life is for me. Life is for living now. Life is for living now.
Beautiful, Dad.
He's a beautiful dad, and that's because he has no makeup on.
Well, that is a subjective thing too, so. Anyway, we are glad that Steve is here. His daughter Jen is with us, and I talked to my youngest daughter this morning early because she was interested in some things that we were doing in our book study, and but she has a full day. She has 3 children, and they already had a full day, but she sent me a text early this morning wishing me a happy Father's Day, and she got ahead of the deal. So anyway, that's really good. I'll hear from my other 2 later on in the day, I'm sure. So, does anyone have anything that they'd like to bring forward at this time? Marion, come on, sure.
I also have a story about my dad that I would like to tell. He was a great dad. He really was. But my story is about after he passed. He passed very suddenly and unexpectedly when my family and I were stationed on Okinawa. And so when we heard from the Red Cross that he had passed on, we made arrangements for me to fly back to Vermont to be with my mother for a while. Well, on the flight, we made it to Hawaii just fine, but somewhere past the point of no return between Hawaii and Travis Air Force Base in California, they found something was not right with the plane. And they had us all fasten our seatbelts, and I began to get very anxious. In the first place, I'm an only child, and my mother had just lost my father. So I thought of what a terrible thing it would be for her if something happened to me. Then I thought of my 3 children at home between 8 and age 2, and the baby that I was carrying, that I was 3 months pregnant with at the time. When suddenly I heard my dad's voice. My middle name is Jean, and at home with my parents and many of my relatives, I was always Jeannie. And as the flight progressed, 2 escort planes from Travis came out to meet us and were escorting us in. And I heard my dad's voice repeating, Jeannie, 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 over and over again, and I knew we'd be all right. But that was my dad coming through only probably about 10 days or so after he had passed. And we did make it to Travis, and we landed safely, as I knew I would after I heard my dad's voice. It was a rough landing, but nobody was hurt. So I wanted to mention my dad's name, Alfred Nathaniel Johnson, and just say thanks, Dad. Great job.
Thank you, Marion. Well, I found at one point in my life that it was necessary for me to progress and to grow. I had to come to a realization that my father and my parents in general did the very best that they could with what they had at the time. And if I held anything bad against them, I needed to turn loose and let it go. And I did. They did some wonderful things, and some things because of their chosen lifestyles or the lifestyles that they had were not so good. But that is true, I think, of every human being on this planet. You know, I think sometimes that we ask for superhuman behavior from humans. And when we let our expectations get out of line like that, we're often disappointed. But I know that I love my mom, I love my dad as much as I possibly could, as much as their capacity allowed. And so that's true. And I can say the same thing of my children. There's things that I did well. There were other things that I did not so well. But we seem to have had time to patch things up, and we have great relationships today. And I suspect that we will until our dying days, if I have anything to do with it, because I guard my behavior so that I don't do any more damage than I already have. So anyway, there we go. So we need to do our celebration of abundance, Steve. I want to thank Jenny for her reading, as well as Ian for his message. And I want to thank Margaret and Steve for bringing us the music today. So let us hold over our hearts that which we are going to give, and follow along with me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Through infinity, I am prosperous. There we go. There are 9 people in attendance here today and 7 people on Zoom. So it won't take long to take up our donations, but so thank you very much. Wednesday nights, we have Course in Miracles here at 6 o'clock on Zoom. Susan Barnes Smith is the one who hosts that meeting, and it's a great meeting. If you've never been to a Course in Miracles study group, I would suggest that you check it out. It could change your life. I don't know. I'm going to unplug that thing because it keeps jumping up there in the way. Anyway, on Thursday night we have Power of 8 meeting hosted by Margaret Cheesebro, and that's when a group of us, and as many as would want to come, and we in our own fashion pray for people who have been brought to us to in need, and we send them light and love, and we do that for about around an average probably of around 20 people, and we devote an equal amount of time to each one. And we've had some amazing things that's happened over the time that we've been doing it, and Zoom seems to be a really good medium to do that with, because in the real world there is no time and space. So when we get together and multiply our intentions, it doesn't matter whether we're in the same room or we're divided, but if we're all together at the same time, I think it's more effective, and the rest of us do also. And we want to thank Margaret. We want to thank Susan for facilitating those 2 endeavors. On Sunday morning, we have a book study, and right now we're studying the Book of Wisdom by a lady, and I can't even say her last name. She's Russian. But anyway, we've been doing that for a while, and it's enjoyable. It is a information that we have studied over and over again, presented to us from a different cultural point of view, and so it gives us a different way to look at things, and I think that's always a good thing. If I only had my narrow point of view, I would be a narrow person indeed. So it's really good. Then on Sunday morning, next Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, we will have another study, another service that we hope that you would maybe consider attending. All of these places to go on Zoom are all at the same address. Fellowship of Spirit only has one address that we use for everything, we kind of live by, if we can keep it simple, we think that things are easier to digest and palate. So one address will get you to everything. All right, so tomorrow afternoon, beginning at 4 o'clock to 7 p.m.
Ron,
Yes,
I'd actually like to say, I'm gonna be there at 4, cleaning the tables and sweeping and setting things up. Because you can be there at 4 if you want to, fellowship is fine anytime, but normally people don't start showing up until after work, like at 5 o'clock.
right, till after 5. Yeah, so we have the Kiwanis Park reserved from between 4 to 7. But as Jerry was saying, she's going to start setting things up around 4. And if you want to come that early, that's fine. But that probably we won't be eating until around 5 or thereafter. Yeah, 5:30, somewhere around in there. And we're not going to have a formal dining situation anyway. It's going to be a traditional picnic style that we're going to have. And Sue from Clancy's, who is always our very, very good patron, and we appreciate it, is going to be providing cooked burgers and buns and ketchup and stuff. Jerry's bringing lettuce, tomato, onions, and pickles. Steve is bringing the ice.
And sausages.
And he's going to bring some sausages. Are they going to be cooked already? Yeah, okay. And I'm going to try to bring some waters. My transportation right now is pretty limited because my car won't start. It hasn't started for 3 weeks, and we're still trying to figure out what's going on with it. But hopefully I'll get it started well, I don't know that I'll get it started by tomorrow, but anyway, I will at some point. Fellowship of Spirit's going to provide the paper plates, flatware, napkins, and cups, and lemonade. And there will be grills available. You have to bring your own charcoal. Fred Brown will be playing music, but it will not be a full band like we've had in the past. It'll just be Fred serenading us as we eat. So it'll all be enjoyable. Does anyone else have anything to say about the cookout tomorrow? This is our solstice celebration that we have every year to commemorate the changing of the solstice. Hearing none, we're going to have a yard sale here, and that's going to be on Saturday, July 9th from 7 a.m. till 1 or 2, however long that we either lose patience or we sell everything we have. And people may bring donations from 4 to 6 on Friday, July 8th. Bring them here, or you can bring them on Saturday morning, but we just don't want to. In the past, we have started gathering stuff up for our yard sale a month early, and our sanctuary got all full of sort of white elephants to the point that we could barely move in here. So, and they were always good, but Jerry has asked that we just bring donations either Friday evening or Saturday morning. So that'll be great. Also, if you want to come and work, you will be greatly appreciated to help us to run our yard sale. Okay, is there anything else? Any more announcements? Carol's husband Jasper's gotten his medicine now that he has been waiting on for a long time, and he's having a little harder time adjusting to it, but it seems like it's doing better. Is that right, Carol?
Yes. He went up to 3 pills at each meal now, so we'll see. It's going up. Okay.
Last Thursday, he had to kind of transition into it. It was two pills was about all he could tolerate as of Thursday, but the full dose that they wanted him to be on was 3 pills, and now he's on there now, right?
Yeah.
And he's feeling better. Is that right?
Yeah, he seems to be. Yeah, I think so.
Well, we hope so. We hope that it helps him a lot.
Well,
Okay. If you have anyone that you would like for the Power of 8 site for us to pray for, someone in your family that you know of that may be in need, or some neighbor or somebody you meet on the street, maybe even an enemy, we don't really care. Just get in touch with Margaret, and we will we will make sure that they have equal time with everyone there when we're doing that. So, okay. Does anyone want to do a closing prayer?
We're gonna do the circle.
We are going to do the circle right after we do the closing prayer. Father, Mother, God, what are you going to do it something, Steve?
I was gonna do it, yeah.
Well, then come over here and do it. I didn't know,
Okay.
you didn't say anything.
No, I didn't. I thought I'd just sneak up right up here and say,
Well, I don't really appreciate getting sneaked up on. So there you go.
well, it was pretty obvious sneaking. Anyway, I'm going to just say in the old school fashion, since it's Father's Day, and we know our deity is sexless, but I'm going to say, Father God, thank you for all of the fathers with whom, if they had not been around, we would not be around. And all of their guidance and teaching and learning and their foibles and their strengths that have brought us to where we're at right now with gratitude. Thank you.
And that's your prayer. All right. So that's it. Okay, well, let's circle up. Who is that white-haired guy? I guess we can see it in the middle. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. Still the mountains, see the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our founder, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, this begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. Yes, every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. May God bless you and keep you until we meet again.
Amen.
Amen. All right.
Had it for 20 years.
That's a cool one, huh?
Thank you.